Welcome back, guys. We are making bacon today. Everyone's favorite side dish, main course, add-on, condiment, whatever you want to use it for. My favorite of anything. We're making jalapeno cured bacon. It is not hot, so one thing that I always get questions on when I'm making bacon and giving it to people is, oh, it's jalapeno bacon, it's going to be hot. It is not. Even I leave the seeds in here just for a little extra heat, but it is not hot whatsoever. So what we have is an 11-pound pork belly that we got from Costco today. So we're going to be cutting that into two chunks, putting it into two-gallon bags, and right now we're actually going to make our slurry to soak the bacon in for the next 7 days. That consists of 10 tablespoons of sugar, or salt, 6 tablespoons of sugar, half cup of maple syrup, about this much of cilantro. You can use more or less. This is kind of what I figured out. I don't really know how to measure cilantro because it's kind of leafy and it doesn't really measure in a cup. So, and then we're going to use 9 jalapenos, a half of a red onion, and then a few cloves of garlic. I like to kind of measure my garlic based off of the size of the cloves that I'm getting off. So I know some of these ones like on the outside here are going to be pretty small, or some on the inside are going to be much larger. So I just kind of eyeball it. And then we're also going to be drinking our 1792 small batch bourbon. So we're going to give ourselves a little dessert once we get this slurry mixed up in between bagging up the bacon. And we'll start. So what I like to do is just mix all of my smaller stuff in here first. So we're just going to put our salt, and then our sugar, and our cilantro. And then with the jalapenos, all I'm going to do with these is just chop off the end, and for some of these fatter ones, I'll give them just a cut down the middle. Because we are going to be putting this through a food processor, we really don't need to do a whole lot with it. So, like I said, we are going to be leaving the seeds in there. I do like the little extra heat that it gives, but you can definitely take those seeds out. One really easy way to take the seeds out of jalapenos is if you have an apple corer. I think I actually have one right here. Take an apple corer and very carefully, so you don't chop through and chop your own fingers off. Pull that out, and then you have the majority of the seeds already out. You just got to pound out or scrape out the extra couple in there. So put that back in, and we'll leave these seeds out. Alright, so I just went ahead and put all the jalapenos in there, got them ground up a little bit, just enough to make some extra space. We're going to take our onion, half that, and I like to cut this into at least quarters. This is a pretty big red onion, so I might go a little bit smaller, but just make sure you get all the, obviously all the dry skin off there. You don't want any of that in there. And then the ends as well. We're going to throw our syrup in at this point. Just going to let that sit there and drain in. Now, we're going to take some more garlic. Figure out, you don't want to go too heavy on the garlic here. I did that once, the first time I made this, and it really overpowered the bacon. And I was not a fan. So this, chop there, and that is one good-sized chunk of fresh garlic. So if I can get another 1 or 2 like that. If you leave some skin on this, or some of the casing, it's not a big deal because in the end, we're going to end up washing all of this off of the bacon anyway. Really, this is just meant to sit and stew. So, like I said, we will be washing it all off in the end. So I used 2 pretty good-sized chunks there, and I'm just going to use this smaller one here that we picked out earlier. Alright, so we got everything in there. I think we are ready to finish letting this drain. We're going to give it another mix here, and we want to get it down to a pretty good slurry. Alright, so we're going to open up our pork belly here. Pull this out here. We are not worrying about extra juices or anything like that with this. There really isn't much, and what there is of, we just want to discard. So, take this, cut it approximately down the middle. Should have got my brisket knife out for this. One thing too, when you're working with pork, it's always better to work with it when it's a little cold or partially frozen even. You can see this has been sitting out for a little bit while we've been doing this, and the fat just gets real stringy on it. So each one of these bags, and drop a half in here. These are 2-gallon freezer bags. I use the freezer bags because it has a better seal. Since we're going to be filling this with not just meat but liquid as well, that extra seal makes a world of difference, so you don't open up your fridge and find a mess of very pungent jalapenos dripping all over your fridge. So there. Alright, so we're going to take about half this. That's about right. And then once it's in the bag here, what we want to do is first seal it up as best you can. A little fat in the grooves there. You don't want to seal it all the way because you want to get as much air out as possible. I've sealed it all the way. There we go. And when the smell of, or the air with the jalapenos hits you in the face, it is going to sting your nose a little bit. That is quite strong. So after that, I'm just going to want to massage that kind of all over the meat. We're going to be setting this in the fridge for, like I said, 7 days. What we're going to be doing is turning this every day. So you can see we're not going to have enough to really cover the entire slab here, but what we're going to do is slowly move this from one side to another. And as you set it up, you can see that all of the extra is going to just kind of gather at the bottom. So then you can kind of manipulate that around in there and eventually work some over to the other side here. Your fat isn't going to absorb a ton anyway. Fat naturally does not absorb a ton of flavor unless it's rendering and opening up those pores. But we do have a little piece of meat back here that we want to get some in. But that is basically what we want to end up with, is a nice, relatively even spread on here. We are going to be switching it every day, as I said. So that is going to help kind of distribute that flavor. I'm basically going to go through this same process as I'm doing right now every single day with these, just to get as much of that covered and ground in there as possible. So we're going to let this rest in the fridge for 7 days and then pull it out, and then we're going to smoke it until we hit a good internal temp, and then we're going to slice it. And then we will have the world's greatest bacon that's inexpensive. Alright, bacon is in the fridge, getting ready to become delicious. So tonight we're going to try 1792 small batch. I got this at Costco. I believe you can buy this in liquor stores. It's about 40 bucks. Costco, 21 bucks. So Costco liquor, thank you very much. I also want to send a shout out, I'm wearing the shirt tonight, to LTS, the local brewery in Rochester, Minnesota that has some of the best beer around and some of the best people as well. The owners are fantastic. Shout out to you guys. Thank you very much for all your hospitality. So, as always, we're going to give it a shot neat, and we're going to give it a little time to rest on the rock. Smells good. Smells stronger than the Redemption rye we had last time. A little more caramel maybe. This is not a rye. This is regular straight bourbon. So yeah, good nose flavor. Really good. The caramel really kind of comes through. It is pretty smooth. It's got a little bite right at the beginning, just to let you know that it's here. But other than that, that is really good. That is some good dessert. Now I'm giving this a little chance to mellow out. Let's meet our competitor, Ice Ball 1792. Kind of takes off that initial burn. I think it kind of saves it till later almost, if that makes any sense. I think I like it better on ice than I do neat. Just for that initial little bite, it takes that away. And I do like a cold drink typically anyway, which is why that Redemption rye that we did in the brisket video was I was blown away by that. Man, that was fantastic. This is really good. I would not discount this one single bit. If you get a chance to get a bottle of it, definitely a great one to have on your shelf. I think this would be fantastic to put in an old-fashioned or some sort of little extra something to it. I think it would give some fantastic flavor to something like that. So there's my not fancy man's review. I'm gonna go drink some bourbon. Hey guys, it's been a week. We've had our wonderful bacon sitting in the fridge, turning it every day, so we should have a nice marinade on it. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to wash it in the sink here. Just try to get all that extra stuff off there. We don't want to actually smoke it with the jalapeno, with the mix and everything on there. So we're just going to wash it off and then discard everything and then throw it on the smoker. You won't be able to get everything off, but just try to get the majority of it. I do let these warm up a little bit on the cover, or on the island, just so I'm not handling such cold meat. I apologize for the extra noise. We have a party here this weekend with me, my buddy, his kids, and my kids. The wives are out of town, so.
What are you doing, Ellie?
Good enough. Alright, we got the bacon all washed off and dried. I just patted dry with a paper towel just kind of help get some of that extra moisture off there. Got the smoker up to 200. I'm going to just drop them on here. I'm going to do I'm going to do a little experiment. I'm going to do one fat side up and one fat side down. Usually I do fat side down, so I'm hoping some of that fat kind of renders off because there is a lot of fat on the pork belly. But I'm going to try it the other way, just see if I can get maybe some of that drippings to go into the meat a little bit and go from there. So. Okay, so the one that I'm doing fat side down, I'm going to put towards, as I've talked about before, towards the heat of my grill where I know the hot spot is. That's just going to help protect the meat a little bit so it doesn't get too overly cooked. And then fat side up is going to be on the cooler end here, so hopefully all that heat and smoke will just kind of roll around it and we'll get some delicious bacon at the end of this. Alright, we've been on here about 2.5 hours and we're up to 150 degrees internal temperature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them and I'm going to stick them in the fridge initially just to kind of cool off, and then when I'm ready to slice them, I'm going to stick them in the freezer for about 30 minutes beforehand, just so that way the meat holds up a little bit better against the slicer, especially with the fat the way that it's going to be. It's just kind of melty right now. We want that to firm up a lot so we don't create a huge mess when we're slicing it. Alright. I did move them because the one on the right side that we had the fat down was cooking a lot faster, so I flipped them probably about 45 minutes ago or so, just so that way they even cook a little bit. You can see we pull it off, get some nice juices coming out the top there, and the fat is nice and rendered, and we got more of that bacon look on there. Now, fat side up. See, we didn't quite render down nearly as much. There is quite a bit of juice just sitting on top of there. but you can see it's just sticky. The one thing about this bacon is when you're cooking it, you're going to find out that it's very sticky just from all that sugar and everything that was in there. So you're going to want to make sure that you cook it really low and slow so you don't burn it. Alright guys, so I got that all sliced up. This is how much bacon we have left. Or from it, I should say. Got a lot of bacon in here. I usually do cut off the ends. This time I didn't cut off one because it was actually really nice. But this is one of the ends of it. Just because you get this really odd shape to it, and making some slices of bacon out of that just aren't real great. Plus, this is fantastic for cutting up and cubing and throwing into some baked beans or really anything. This is going to be your most flavorful stuff because you have so much surface area. You can see how it kind of discolored some of the fat there. That's good. That means you're flavoring your jalapeno actually soaked in. So save a little bit just for chopping up and cubing and using in some different dishes. But I'm going to go fry some up, and then let's take a look and get some bacon in our belly. The fat there, that's good. That means you're flavoring your jalapeno actually soaked in. So save a little bit just for chopping up and cubing and using in some different dishes. But I'm going to go fry some up, and then let's take a look and get some bacon in our belly. Alright, so now that we got our bacon made, I'm going to make an omelet that I've been making lately. Just my style, just quick some things to throw together in here that I like to put the bacon in. So after I fry the bacon, put 2 eggs in here. Using the bacon fat that's already in there. We're just going to mix this up a little bit, get our yolks kind of mixed in with everything else, and try to get a nice shape out of that omelet. One thing when you're cooking this bacon too, you're going to get a lot of that sugar that we put in there. It's going to caramelize, so it's going to look burnt. You'll see that in the next piece of the video here, but don't be afraid. That's normal. You definitely want to cook it low. I cook it about medium low, excuse me, so that way it doesn't cook real fast and burn that sugar. You just want that to caramelize. Alright, I'm starting to thicken up a little bit. I'm just going to add a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt. And again, cooking at this low temperature is going to keep this from popping as much as possible. It's still going to pop because you're cooking an egg in bacon fat, but once we start to harden up on the bottom here, I think we are, I'm just going to take 1 slice of that bacon that we cooked up and just kind of spread it around in here. You can use as little bacon, as big a chunk as bacon, whatever you want. So I put that in there, along with I keep some caramelized onions and along with caramelized jalapenos together. I'll kind of spread those out. And then 1 piece of habanero cheese from just Kraft cheese. Flip that over onto itself. Things are going to kind of spill out a little bit. That's perfectly fine. We'll pick up the pieces later. I just finished cooking that. Let that cheese melt. These onions release their flavor all over again. Alright guys, we got our omelet, our bacon done. It is Easter night. Kids are finally in bed. I've been single dad all weekend, so I am exhausted. And this is my dinner. because I've been craving this all day with this bacon sitting in the fridge. So, as you can see, we have the different stages in which our chocolate bunnies have made it throughout the day. We started with 3. This is what we have left of those 3. So, Dad's gonna have a little bourbon, eggs, and bacon. So, first off, we give our bacon a try here. As I said before, this gets black. Like, this is just the sugar caramelizing on it because we put so much sugar in it. So, this is the end piece, so this is going to have by far the most flavor. Let me give it a try here. Hands down, best bacon I've ever had. Definitely try this out. Your family, friends, everybody's going to want you to make them bacon. Now, dig into this omelet here. So this I started piecing together just from kind of stuff that I had sitting around home. And the caramelized onions is a definite must, and the jalapeno bacon in here is going to make this thing absolutely off the chain, as some guy would say. This is what I needed. Oh, that's good. You got the sweetness, hotness with the habanero cheese, the bacon flavor. Just, make this for yourself, make this for your family. Whatever you do, just make it. Wash down with a little bit of 1792. Now this is a meal. Alright guys, remember, like and subscribe. Turn the bell on so you get notifications every time I put out a new video. I'm hoping to do one every week. And go make some bacon. See you later.